Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as always, to the BB-Scho. As always, I'm your host, Beebs. I'm here with my co-host, Chen. We're here for Week 9 reactions. Chen, anything stand out to you? Leap off the page from the Sunday games today.
Uh, well, if I'm just being honest, there's a couple unexpected results, but at this point they might become expected. And yeah, we'll get to each individual game, but Khalil Mack just ripping the ball away from Drake London was like my holy crap play of the day. Like
Yeah, that's a good
I
that's a good
I
one right there.
I just saw that. I was like, jeez, dude. And that was really a big play considering how close that game was to come away with no points in the red zone. Especially for a team like Falcons. That was tough for them. But overall, it's why you go get Khalil Mack. He's a difference maker. I know you probably want to get right into the Philly Houston game. That was the prime time matchup on Thursday.
Yeah, a little.
Anything
Yeah, stands out to me. A little closer than I had anticipated. This is just all I'm gonna say. I think I did pick the Texans to cover 11 and a half points, but I did not expect them to be in the game, if that meant, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
you
well,
know,
it
it's
actually
just
got up
like,
to 14. They were 14-point dogs, so
oh, yeah, no,
technically you
11 and a
covered.
half. No, 11 and a half was the Jets today, which I took. I had the Texans
Mm,
at 13 and a half. And yeah, I just basically looked at it. I was like, yeah, it's a lot of points for a Thursday night game. So I just took the spread and it paid off, but it was just kind of like I did not expect the Texans to be leading at any point, and they were. But this is just another example in my eyes. Like, I don't have much to say. Eagles win in multiple ways. Get down against an inferior team, rally, find a way to win the game, that sort of thing. Um, Ran the ball really well, in my opinion. Miles Sanders had him on Fantasy Frenzy. Didn't know how I felt about it, but 17 carries, 93 yards, and a touchdown. I'm pleased. I'm pleased with that.
yeah,
And
feeling good now.
yeah, outside of that, Damian Pierce is a stud. That stood out to me.
He's been great all year for sure. Probably the most steady thing on the Texans.
I'm very interested to see what they do with him because a lot of times, like teams who get those day three running backs who have a good rookie year, that they're just like really quick to move on. I.e., James Robinson. you
Yeah,
know,
fair enough.
so it's like, and you could find numerous other examples of that. So I'm very interested because I think he stands out to me in terms of guys from that crowd, just in terms of talent. He could be a bell cow back, but I just wouldn't be shocked if they move on or they trade him or next year he doesn't get the same usage. It's just one of those things where it's like, this doesn't always pan out for these kind of guys, and they just get
It's
a
a fair
shorter
point.
they get a shorter leash than say Jonathan Taylor might get or Saquon Barkley might get, or Kenneth Walker might get because of their draft position.
Right. And it's not always fair to an extent, but in the same breath, I would say they're making a poor call if they go and get somebody else. Just the amount of holes on the Texans roster. You got one thing going for you. I understand with the James Robinson scenario, it was, well, one, they're coached by Urban Meyer, so he's giving his college football insight to an NFL league. But they got ETN more for, I think, the familiarity of Trevor Lawrence,
Yeah,
and they couldn't go get like one of his top guys. So it was like, well, we'll get his running back. Um, and honestly, I know we're comparing him to James Robinson, but I would say Pierce looks to be more talented at this point.
I mean, you're
Got good
forgetting though, Robinson.
playabilities.
Robinson as a rookie was like 1,000 yard rusher.
No, he does a good job. I'm just saying, in terms of explosion, like it really seems clear
Yeah, I
that
would I would
Damian
agree
Pierce
with
has
that.
that next year. And it's not that James Robinson does a bad job. He's just one of those guys that's kind of 4 or 5 yards in a cloud of dust, which, again, there's use for that in the NFL. Like, if you can consistently, stay ahead of the sticks and keep
No,
your,
he'll.
average up,
I
he'll
do want
stick
to look
around.
something up actually regarding that. I'm gonna look up Michael Carter's contract because I was very interested because I was thinking about this. I was like, what are they gonna do next year?
Yeah, when that rubber hits the road.
They made this trade. He's on contract. He signed He's not going to be a free agent until 2025. So
Okay.
that's going to be interesting to see what they do there. Because then what, you know, I don't know. We're getting sidetracked, but yeah,
Yeah.
Robinson, he'll have a place in the league, but yeah, I'm just interested to see what they do with Pierce because I would hate to see them move on. I think he stands out to me. He's, in my opinion, he's maybe not as talented, but he's right up there with Kenneth Walker. I think he's better than Eno Benjamin. Obviously, I think Eno
Oh
Benjamin's
yeah.
is he a rookie this year? I think so.
I believe so. Yeah.
Um,
I don't know the
so
statuses of those guys, but
I think Pierce is the second or third best running back in this class, which now that Brees Hall's down, that moves him into the top two. So, um, yeah, I'm just very encouraged by him. From a fantasy perspective, might be hesitant to draft him next year because I don't know what they're going to do. But whereas like
yeah.
Kenneth Walker, I would be more confident in. But anyways, the Eagles are really good. That's kind of the bottom line here. Anybody saying, I'm interested to hear your opinion on this. So I'm starting to see the takes. The Eagles are the 2020 Pittsburgh Steelers.
Mm.
I'm going to
Mm.
read off the Eagles' schedule so far, and I'd like to hear. Uh,
It is easy from what I remember.
I'd like
Very
to
easy.
hear your thoughts. So week one, they actually I forgot about this. They beat the Lions 38-35.
Mm.
Week one. Then they blew out the Vikings by 3 scores. Then they beat the Commanders by 3 scores. Then that rain game against Jacksonville, they won by 8 points. Then they beat the Cardinals by 3. Then they beat the Cowboys by 9. Blew out the Steelers, handled the Texans. Now they play the Commanders, Colts, Packers, Titans, Giants, Bears, Cowboys, Saints, Giants.
Hmm.
I don't see a lot of losses on this schedule. I also don't see a lot of hard games either. Now, granted,
Right.
part of that is because they're playing in a weak NFC. So really, I mean, outside of the 2 games against, well, I guess they got the Giants twice and the Cowboys are not terrible, and the Bears are hot right now. But I don't know. I see some. I'll say this. I see credence to the. Not. I don't think they're the 2020 Steelers. I think they're better because they've proven the 2020 Steelers were in a position where they were winning all these games and like none of them. I just remember them and I could be way off by this, but none of them were really that close. They weren't winning from behind. They weren't winning in the elements. And I just think the Eagles roster is not as fraudulent as theirs, especially from a defensive
That's
perspective.
yeah.
But
I
I
think that's
still
the
have
bottom line.
concerns.
The Steelers, they're just not like that roster. Everyone kind of saw the writing on the wall of like they were just winning games due to like Tomlin's coaching and defensively. Like everyone was like, "Oh yeah, Big Ben looks like crap." He was severe. Like it was clear he was declining, and just the offense was very just mundane. And so looking at like the Eagles, there's not like one side of the ball is bad. Really, the only thing that's in question is their run defense, and I mean teams can make that work. And even like when I look at like the NFC, it's yeah, I guess the Vikings, have Dalvin Cook, Cowboys, they got their run attack, but ultimately we're gonna see kind of at the end of the year, the Eagles found a way to handle the Vikings, and I think part of that is the Eagles kind of are a team that most games than not they're up right away, so teams kind of feel less inclined to run the ball. It's I mean like it's not been a problem ultimately. They're 8-0. They're winning games, so it's something
Yeah,
to watch, but it's not like this entire like their defense is bad. It's not like the Lions. And the Steelers, it was like, okay, this if anything's gonna hold them back, it's like their offense, like the entire thing.
yeah, I think that's fair.
That's my opinion for from the
Can
eye test.
and I hate to say this, but we're halfway through. With the remaining games, can you see 17-0?
No, I just think the way. especially you listed off some of those close games, like the 3 point win with the Lions, 3 point win with the Cardinals, teams that aren't necessarily over the top. We even saw like the Bills today. Like sometimes your team just loses. It's not necessarily it's the 17-0. That's 17 different weeks, across 3 months, different elements, different guys are in and out of your lineup. It's just a tough task, no matter who you are. And so I'm just gonna go with the odds here and say no. But
Well, obviously, thanks for the
it's
uber conservative take here. Just
yeah.
say
Oh, I'm
no,
not
they're
gonna be.
gonna lose a game. No.
Yeah, hey man, if you want to
I'll
go and put
I'll
your
say
money on
this.
the 17
I'm not gonna put my money on it, but I will say that I don't see another loss on their schedule.
in theory, but I don't think anyone saw a Bills loss to the Jets.
Yeah, but I would have
I think
said that
I think
before.
they're gonna lose a division game.
No,
I
they'll lose to
think
the
just
Giants or
because,
the Cowboys,
right?
just
It's
because.
gonna happen, and
Or it'll be something
finally another
stupid
one in there.
like Taylor Heineke shows up and balls
Or
out.
like Jonathan Taylor has a day. It's gonna be some random fluky win. I can see like 15-2, and again,
Yeah.
that's still incredible, especially for Philly. Their expectations for the year.
Well, it's their first time,
Uh,
first best franchise start ever. 8-0.
yeah, yeah.
So
Kudos to them. They're
yeah.
still rolling.
Let's move on. We're going to jump into New England and the Indianapolis game today. I had the Indy because I'm a loyal fan, loyal supporter at this point, and
Yeah, it's got to be really the only reason, though, right? I mean, it's just not one of
yeah, I
those
mean,
predictable games.
you can go check the receipts. I literally had the Patriots picked, and then just changed my mind out of. I actually
Loyalty,
can't really explain why, but loyalty. Yeah, I guess loyalty in my
family.
DNA. But yeah, dude, this was hard to watch.
Yeah,
Indy has always historically struggled in Foxborough, and obviously these are far cry from the Manning, Brady, Indy, and New England
oh
teams
gosh,
of the
yeah.
2000s. But yeah, the Patriots. I honestly don't even feel like they looked that good. It's hard to say that when they win 26-3, but the I don't think the Colts had a first down in like the first half. It was like in the
No,
second quarter,
exactly.
and Scott Hansen's like, "Oh, that's Sam Ellinger's first completion of the day," and it's like a screen pass, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, dude!"
Yeah, it was pretty ugly. It was one of those scrappy games, and just gonna be honest, I've not been a fan of the. I thought Matt Ryan got benched way too early, and even seeing how
I
Ellinger was
think that
playing, it's like,
honestly, at this point, I think Frank Reich's protecting his job by playing the young guy and just being like, "Oh, we wanted to see what we had before we moved," instead of just like you
yeah,
get what
instead
I'm
of
getting at?
gambling, which
Yeah.
is fine. I mean, if that's the route that he wants to take, but that
I
definitely does
just
not make him a better
from day one
team.
I've said it. I wasn't a fan of moving on from Carson Wentz.
Yeah, if it's
And
if
if
it's
we'd have been
not
doing the
broke.
podcast back then, you could have checked the receipts because what did they
Yeah,
accomplish by doing that? Unless now they're saying, okay, we're gonna go try and get uh, uh, Will Levis, C.J.
yeah,
Stroud, Bryce Young, one of those guys, and actually get a franchise guy um, for the first time since Andrew Luck. Then yeah, then that's why I see them playing Sam Ellinger. But other than that, I don't know.
yeah.
They're in trouble. And
Competitively, this team is kind of done,
yeah,
but so are a lot of other teams from what we saw today.
yeah, yeah, they
Not
are.
to foreshadow anything.
One of those teams is actually next up on the docket. So I
Mm,
correctly picked the upset win here for the Lions, and you had some loyalty. I'm a man of spite and of loyalty. You had the Packers, and I have really not much to say here other than you know I saw it coming, and I can say that. So
yeah,
uh,
fair enough. I mean, you did take Rodgers for fantasy frenzy, which is gonna probably bite you a bit. I know you had some other guys that kind of
what's
popped out.
crazy is he almost threw for 300 yards. Like
Yeah,
the pick was there for frenzy. I just I had
too many
Rodgers.
turnovers,
Yeah, I had Rodgers
and
under 7 interceptions on the year on one like a futures thing,
Oh,
on Prize Picks for like it was like a 5 pick like parlay, and
right.
I felt pretty decent about it. We're halfway through the year. He had four, and I was like, all right, like outside
Mm,
chance. And then he threw three today, so I have to
yeah.
have him push, which isn't going to happen. So
Unfortunately, yeah, it's very unlikely, and uh, I don't really have anything to say. The game honestly sucked the life out of me. It's like already rebuilding time.
oh
What
yeah,
like where do they go from like realistically, they're probably if they get to 500 at this point is gonna be great.
I saw
They,
somebody say Philly last year made the playoffs at 9-7, and they were 3-6. But looking at the Packers
and
schedule,
that's
that's
fine,
not it's
but
not
then
going to
Philly
happen.
got bounced in the first round and like right, you look at our schedule, doesn't look good. They have to finish 6-2 for us to have a positive record. I don't see that at all.
No,
I just don't see it.
we have the eighth pick right now. Let's see how low we can get that.
Really though, and crazy as it sounds, but like as a GM, like if I were running the team, you
Hey, we have the
see
advantage on the Lions in the draft right now.
exactly, and I'm saying as a GM, keep the advantage. Like it's time to pull Rodgers. It's time to pull the plug.
Well, I think the
Not
reality
saying
is
Love's a
this
better
is
quarterback,
a lot
but
right now is coming out about things. I guess the Packers were inches away. At the very last minute, a deal for Darren Waller fell through. And then they offered a first round pick for DJ Moore. And then they got, which is looking dumb now for the Steelers, they said that the Bears' second round pick would be higher than the Packers, which is just not true. Um, so, yeah, I don't know. I don't really care about the Pack. I do care about the Packers, but like I don't care to talk about it at this point. Like it's
no, honestly, yeah, we can because it was a 15-9 game. I mean, in terms of what happened, it was just sloppy. No team really. We've talked about the Lions. They don't know how to win games, but hate to be that. No, I am going to be that. The Packers have become the Lions, the Vikings, whatever you want to call it, whatever we've been bashing for the past couple of years. We are them now. We have become to the point where we don't know how to win a game. Every week, it's like, oh, we should win that game, and we don't. And so,
that's for you.
especially
I stopped saying that after the Commanders game.
hey, I'm just if I'm siding with like Vegas and the majority, I mean, Detroit should have been. But then it's like that should have been a wake up call.
We have like three red zone
Commanders should have been a wake
turnovers.
up call. Any of the New York matchups should have been a wake up call. Like there's just too much that's gone wrong already. Could they right the ship for like a couple games? But that schedule is just daunting. I don't see it the way it seems playing. A lot more guys went down today. We're done. We're done.
We're done.
And it's over. We lost. And it stinks, dude. It really just like it sucks to talk about.
I don't know. I
And
think
so we can move on.
the
You
reality
know what I
is
mean?
the position of your realization right now. I had that like probably after
Probably a
the
couple weeks ago.
what was the loss
I was clinging to
After the
hope,
Jets.
honestly.
After the
Yeah,
Jets is when I threw in the towel.
yeah.
But
And I've
let's.
been trying to cling to it as long as I can, but
I'm a
it's
little
over.
disappointed in one of the other teams I've been strongly supporting, which is the Atlanta Falcons, because they should have won
Mm,
this game. They had it. I
it
felt
was
like they,
there.
I felt like they had it. And Chargers, this is just a win, in my opinion. They don't always get, so good for them. But yeah, Chargers or the Falcons are now second in their division because the Bucks stole the game against the Rams. And the playoff vision is starting to fade if the Bucks are going to turn it on, but that's a big if because the Rams
That's
are
a big if.
terrible.
Yeah, and they didn't
Um,
really turn it on today per se.
they turn it on for a
Um,
drive, but
right.
um, Cordell Patterson is back, 2 touchdowns. Dude's a stud. I don't understand it. I'm not going to try to explain where he came from, but um, yeah, from a Chargers perspective, it was good to see Joshua Palmer go over 100 yards receiving.
Good call.
And
That
then
was a good call.
Eckler was a touchdown machine today. I think he had two. I think he had two. So maybe not a machine. He's not Joe Mixon material, but yeah. What are your takeaways here?
My takeaway is this: if the Falcons were a reasonably talented team, they win this game today. Like, I'm
They're
just saying,
so
like
well coached, dude.
they are very well coached, and like you said that Arthur Smith was going to outcoach Brandon Staley, and he honestly did. Like watching that game, he definitely was ahead of the Chargers. It was just again, like I mentioned earlier, the Khalil Mack play was a big momentum swing. I believe Mariota got picked off at a certain point, but it was just one of those games that honestly could have went either way. So that's why it's like the Chargers. Kudos to them for getting that win. It's nice for my pick, but I still like the Falcons. Well, I'll say
No, I'm
this.
not. I'm not. I don't want to sound
Yeah, I know
out
you really
on the
like the Falcons, but
Falcons.
yeah, I do think that division is still within reason. Just ultimately, Cordell Patterson is gonna just get more acclimated, as the year goes on. He was a big part of the offense last year. I think if they really utilize him with the vision they got going on, the heavy run game, like he even had some power, and he was a receiver. I mean, really a bust for a long time. He was kick returner slash receiver in Minnesota, and just really could never find anything going. And all of a sudden, he gets moved to running back, and he wasn't no like Ty Montgomery. Like he's kind of turned into an actual running back. And I mean, he was lowering his head down, trucking guys. So if they can stick to this philosophy of just running the ball, making the right plays, Marcus Mariota is your guy, they're going to be in a lot of games. And the way the NFC is this year, they could make a playoff spot. Like it's just
I hope so,
so
man. I'm
bizarre
so
that
bought in.
I just looking at the talent between that roster and like even the Packers going into the season, you cannot tell me someone's gonna be like, yeah, the Falcons are gonna have a better record than the Packers. Like with a straight face, people would look at you crazy and like discredit your take. So it's like, what do I know? Like, what do I actually know about football? That's what's been so bothersome this year. Like, I feel like I feel like an imposter. Like I'm the problem and like among us. Like I vented multiple times this year. All right. Like it's so bad to the point where it's entertaining to watch. And there's a couple other teams that are in like the Falcons column for me. But honestly, like I mentioned, it's fun to watch. It's fun seeing these guys just kind of out of nowhere pop off these Cordell Patterson stat lines. Mariota kind of having a revival year. I thought he'd be benched by this point.
Yeah, Geno
I really did.
Smith.
Yeah. So, but ultimately, I think they're still fine. They still, honestly, in a loss, look better than the Buccaneers, in my opinion, today.
That's
Um,
true. That's true.
that's my take on the whole situation. But we can keep things going. There's a couple more games that definitely need some attention. I will
Yeah,
say
let's talk about the big surprise of the day. And I'm just gonna go on a
that.
limb and I'm gonna say this. Um, I'm not gonna say that I was close to picking the Jets this week to beat the Bills. I did try to talk you into it, but in
We
the
brought
back,
up reasons why it was an option. That's
yes, we did. We
definitely like
both discussed it. We both
it
ultimately ended up making the safe
made
play and taking.
sense. Yeah.
We basically just chalked it up to it's a division game. Like weird stuff happens in division games. But that's not for the Jets. The Jets are terrible in their division, and they have been for a very long time. I'm going to go on a limb and I'm going to say this. The Jets are legit, and they don't even have Brees Hall anymore. And I
Yeah.
can't really explain why, other than attributing their defense. Because I still think Zach Wilson is a terrible quarterback.
Hmm.
They don't
I mean,
have
he's
their
not
star
really
running
showing.
back.
Yeah.
They don't have their star running back. And yeah, they can have a two-headed monster. I mean, Carter and Robinson were over 120 yards combined today, which is perfect. That's what they need and why they made that trade. And then Garrett Wilson, he's a stud. Elijah
Hmm.
Moore, I don't know what he did. He just like ceases to be on the roster. I don't know why they didn't trade him because he doesn't play.
Yeah. It's a tough for him. Really.
But
Oh
their
man.
defense, man, I can't even. They held the Bills to 17 points. Think about that.
Tough ask.
I don't know if
Very
I don't know
tough
if anyone's
ass.
done that yet this year. The Jets are defensively, they're there, and if Wilson can take care of the football and be Ryan Tannehill, and not this year, but maybe next year when they get Brees Hall back, their defensive young core gets so young they get another year under their belt. Sauce Gardner's at this point is basically a shoe-in for defensive rookie of the year. I mean, it's like it's not even close,
Right.
and I'm bought in. I see the vision.
Got a question for you. And this might, again, the only team that could really prevent, or division that I think could actually jeopardize this happening is the North. But honestly, Steelers and Browns are kind of out of contention. So this is my what very hot take could happen. The entire AFC East makes the playoffs. The Bills, Dolphins, and Jets are into me.
So
I think those are
here's
all. The Jets
something
are this year's Bengals. The Bills will make it, and the Jets look like they could do it as well. It's really just down to the Patriots,
here's
and Bill
something
Belichick usually
very
finds a way.
interesting. Here's something very interesting that I was informed of today by a very very smart source. The Bills are now 0-2 in the division.
Yeah, Dolphins and Jets both.
That is very significant
It is.
because the advantage that they got over Kansas City is now lost, assuming Kansas
Yep.
City wins tonight. Um, they're going to have to play catch up against KC, and
Tough thing to do.
now they have to play catch up against the Jets. They have to beat the Jets by a game and then gain a game on KC to get back to the 1 seed in the AFC.
Well, they still got to play the Dolphins again.
And they're going to play the Dolphins
Dolphins
again.
look good.
And this is all to get the home field. You know, are the Bills going to make the playoffs? Yes, but this is all to get home field. If we get to a scenario, and we have to go through the math of it, and we can later in the year. Bills could be out. Just based off mathematics.
Playoffs?
Just based off mathematics. If they go and lose to the Dolphins again,
I doubt the playoffs
and
though.
they're 0 whatever in the division,
Yeah, they're not like they could very well jeopardize the division crown, but I'm just thinking logistics.
I'd be shocked. But mathematically speaking, if some other team shows up, I don't think all four teams. I'm going to disagree with your take that all four teams are going to make it. I don't think the Patriots have the guns to make it. They can't beat anybody who's worthwhile. They can't beat the Bears, who actually might have an outside chance of making the playoffs at this point.
About to say, yeah, they actually look pretty
good. But you get my point. Mac Jones he looks terrible. He was bad today, and they won 26-3. So, but three teams from the AFC East, absolutely at this point. I think that's a lock.
I think that's a lock. That's why I'm saying let's. It's something to watch because if anything, the end of the season is where it's in Bill Belichick's favor. I mean, he's got more film on these teams. He's going to lock in on those easy matchups like they did today. And the fact they're just a pound the rock defensive team late in, NFL games, late in the year, that's important. I just don't think like Ravens, Bengals. I think both those teams probably get in. That's why it's,
I would buy
interesting.
I would buy the idea that the Jets are going to win the division before all four teams make it. Because basically what you're saying is that the Bengals or the Ravens, whoever doesn't win that division, is
out.
Going to be worse than the Patriots.
Yeah, they would have to basically sit at like 9-8, and the Patriots would have to find a way to get to like 10-7.
And based off
it'd be like a lot
we'll
of
see,
like
we'll see
10
the
and 7.
Ravens tomorrow.
The division itself in the AFC East would have to be significantly kind of jumbled up. Like the Jets almost might have to win for that to be the scenario. Yeah. Like a 12-5 Jets, 12-5 Bills, then like 11-6 Dolphins, 10-7 Patriots, that type of deal. But it's worth noting like how competitive that division is when for years it was just the Patriots locked in every year. Yeah. And now that might be the odd. Well, it looks like the odd team out. It's definitely the worst so far.
Yeah, and on the weird part is the NFC East is almost the same way.
It is, yeah. As crazy as that sounds.
With the Commanders, I mean, like they did lose today, but they're competitive as long as Heineke's at the helm. I will say that. Doesn't matter who they're playing. We can pivot to that game, I guess. So I
Yeah.
guess, do you have anything more on Bills Jets?
No, just really that's it was a result that was potentially going to happen, and I think next week is just kind of a big telltale for both teams. Um,
Yeah.
if Bills lose one pretty badly, I don't know who they play next week, but then we might have some concern because they did finish the Packer game slow, last week. And so it's something to monitor. But yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to add. One of those just scrappy division games. And shout
I
out
don't
to
know.
the Jets for being legit.
I do want to say something. This year is just shaping up like maybe this is the NBA fan in me talking a little bit, but in terms of the AFC Super Bowl race right now, this year seems to be just shaping up for Mahomes like revival. Like you know what I'm saying? Like the year that everybody had written them off, no Tyreek Hill, like the Chiefs are
I
just gonna
think the Super Bowl winners
waltz.
in the AFC this year. I will say that.
I will
I don't.
definitely say that, but
I think as good as Philly goes, I still don't see them on the level of the Chiefs, Bills, and even like you look at their schedule. It's like you could very well see like what the Dolphins are doing to people. If they were healthy, they could be undefeated. I mean, Tua, every time he goes out there, he's undefeated as a starter,
yeah, and
I believe.
he's not even like, like you watch Tua's film, and he like there's certain throws and deep balls where it's like, how are they winning games? Like, can you really just have that mediocre of a quarterback and that good of wideouts and have success? Is that really the answer here?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
we've seen a lot of mediocre quarterbacks,
the problem is going to
become
be when Tua's off his rookie deal and they have to pay everybody. But we'll get to
right.
that. We'll get to that in a couple of years. But back to the Commanders Vikings. Truth be told, I have no idea how the Vikings squeaked this game out. I really am impressed. This is just another testament. Good coaching, man.
That this is a game that last year they would have blown, and yeah, I'd agree. I did say going in the year, I was like, Kevin O'Connell is kind of what the team needs. Going from Zimmer, who's a defensive guy, to now a bright young offensive mind who was Tom Brady's backup as a player. Yeah,
Yeah,
figured some things to be
Those
done.
Patriots players are having success in the coaching realm. Unlike,
Vrabel, yep,
yeah,
Kevin
unlike
O'Connell.
the coaches, the Belichick's assistants tend to not do well, but the players seem to be doing well.
Well, that's the really the thing they're missing though is Belichick assistants. They act like they're Belichick when they don't really have the credit to do so. And if the players do, and even the way Kevin O'Connell coaches, he doesn't seem that way. I would say Vrabel is more hard headed, but both of those guys have earned the respect as players in the NFL. They can relate to who they're coaching,
Yeah,
and so that's why I was like, oh yeah, no, not surprised. All the Tennessee players overperform every year for Vrabel. We could see the same thing going on with the Vikings because we currently are. I mean, I don't know if overperforming is the right word. They're kind of really reaching their fullest potential.
yeah. I mean,
But
can the question literally is at this point the one final hurdle in my mind and everybody's minds that the Vikings have to be Super Bowl favorites, contenders in the NFC, in the Eagles echelon is can Kirk show up in prime time? That's the only question that anybody has left. I mean, they're 7-1.
pretty much,
I saw somebody say this, and it's right. They're the least talked about 7-1 team I've ever seen.
yeah, because I think of just it's the same kind of core of players. We've seen the Vikings over the years, and no one really is sold that Kirk Cousins is going to lead your team through the playoffs.
I'd
We have
love to
yet
see
to really
it. Like
see that.
I have
Yeah,
no
I think it'd be
beef with
great.
Kirk Cousins. I
It
actually
would it
like
would
the guy.
change his kind of just his outlook a lot,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Kind
And
of
you
like
saw what it did for
honestly,
Joe
like
Flacco.
Stafford did last year.
Yeah,
You take that step up, and it's like people.
changes a lot for your career, in a
Yeah.
good way. Um,
Do want to note too, T.J. Hawkinson 9 catches for 70 yards. 9 catches in his debut. So they
Already
clearly
getting
had
him
a
involved.
plan. They clearly had a plan. Um,
Yeah.
and take attention away from Justin Jefferson. That's gonna be dangerous, man. It's
Yeah, no, that is a nice three-headed monster between Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Hawkinson, and you got Adam Thielen as your wide receiver too. Like that's as kind of as
yeah,
steady as it gets at that spot. So yeah, the Vikings scary. as long as they just perform to expectation, they could very well make a Super Bowl run. I mean,
Yeah,
that's in the
I think
cards.
I think their defense is still grossly overperforming this year. On
Yeah, but
paper, I don't think they match up. I mean, nobody does, but I really don't think that they match up well against anybody in the AFC.
that's true. But I think even if they get there, the Super Bowl, I believe, is in, or no, it's in Arizona. It's not in
Yeah,
Minneapolis. That's coming up, but it's going to be in a dome. So that's going to help them out. They have that recipe if they can run the ball, but even like just there's just the amount of weapons that that team has. If they're just playing like I said to what they are, they could gash Philly on the ground. They could take. I mean, we have not
yeah,
seen a
but
Hurts bad game yet. It's there for them.
what
You know,
concerns me about the rematch between Minnesota and Philly is I think that Philly is on another level. They are
they've
better.
shown it
They're
so
better
far.
defensively. I think they have a better receiving core overall. You could argue now that Hawkinson's there that changes things, but I still
It's
would lean
comparable.
Philly. I would still lean Philly. I think they have a better quarterback because he helps both their passing and their rushing. And I think that Philly has a better rushing attack as well. And the key
Yeah,
one
no,
there
for
is
sure.
defensively. I think that Philly is ahead. I think that Minnesota is. I don't know. They're a roster piece and a half defensively away from being a serious
Defensively,
contender. You
yeah,
know, but
no
Patrick
question.
Peterson is like a starting corner. He's like 50.
Nah, he's old. Yeah,
You
he's
know,
old. He does
so
a solid job, but he's old.
he's not what he was, and that's kind of where my concern is. Like, you know, they have a really aging defense. I'm interested to see how they reload this in the future because their offense is really young. So,
Yeah.
but on the Commander side of things, man, I might buy a Taylor Heineke jersey. This dude is he's so fun to watch. I genuinely don't know what it is that they don't like. Why are they not like straight up just giving him a shot? They kind of have like refused to let him. I mean, was he a full season starter last year?
I believe so.
Was he?
Um,
Okay. I
and
mean,
he was fine. It's just they don't. Yeah,
they
I don't
just
know. It's
struggle.
just
My
they
thing is
struggle
this
with
is
commitment over there.
they struggle with commitment and they really struggle to run the ball this year. And that's where it's
Right.
like when you have a guy like Heineke who's, you know, not a superstar, but can win you games and take care of the football relatively and throw touchdowns and move the ball down the field, make plays with his feet. And it's just a gunslinger. You got to have some sort of rushing attack behind him to mellow out what defenses are going to do against you. You know, and Heineke's peak, in my opinion, is we use him all the time, but Ryan Tannehill. With a little more,
Hmm.
with a little more Aaron Rodgers esque escapability in him
I
than
would say he's
Tannehill.
got a better arm, in my opinion, than
Yeah,
Tannehill.
but I still think his
Um,
peak. I mean, who'd be a good example then? You know, his peak is uh, Kyler Murray. You know, not as good running, but you know, I don't know. You guys get what I'm getting at. Like
yeah,
he's not going to be Aaron
Tannehill was a
Rodgers.
more live arm. That's a solid comparison.
You
So
know, so his you know what his peak is what Zach Wilson was supposed to be. Does that
yeah,
make
no, it's
sense?
really
Does that make sense?
Zach Wilson
Um,
on a good day now. I mean, it's yeah, he's
I
just
take
kind of
Heineke
looking
over
for.
Will. I take Heineke over Wilson,
Oh
but
yeah, I think the Jets right now for their season without Heineke, I think that would help
yeah,
them longer term.
yeah,
Just for the season outlook at playoffs and whatnot. But no, overall, I mean, Commanders still competitive. Again, look better than some of the Packers, Buccaneers, Rams of the world,
well they
which
beat the
not
Packers,
some.
so
I was gonna say, yeah, it's something you just didn't really see going into the season. So tip my hat to them, and the Vikings keep on rolling.
yeah. Let's move on to Cincinnati here. As good old Belichick would
The
say,
Joe Mixon game.
I believe I
I
saw it's the second highest fantasy running back performance of all time.
Yeah, and just want to go on the record here. Sorry to my dad, especially if he's listening to this. I manage his fantasy team for work, and played against Joe Mixon, and of course, the guy started Justin Fields today. So
Oh, that's
I'm
like
pretty sure
90
those.
points.
Yeah, and so essentially going into the day, like Justin Jefferson, Cordell Patterson scored right away. So I was like, nice. And I checked back. I'm like, wow, this is already a wash. So sorry about the loss, but there's really nothing I could have done. I mean, Joe Mixon, 53 points. He had a hat trick in the first half. He
Was
had
it
5
really
total touchdowns.
53 points?
I can go check again. I
What's
promise you,
crazy is we had. Can you
it
imagine if
made
one of
me
us had him in
insane.
frenzy?
Oh,
Oh
I
my
know. That was my
gosh.
first thing I did. I ran straight to the Instagram page. I was like, no, 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 no. Like, I knew I didn't
Because
pick him, so I was
I
like,
had him last week. That's the thing. I
yeah,
was 1 week
I was
off.
terrified. Yeah, this dude had Joe Mixon 53.1 and Fields had 42.7. So,
Gosh.
and yeah, this guy's got like half his team left. He's sitting at
That's a 200-point day right
140.
there. Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
that's a 200-point day.
I would say, yeah, this is I believe it's a 12-man league as well. Yeah, 12-man. So, and isn't this rich? He's 1-7. He's bottom of the league. 1-7. That's nice. That's real
You love to
nice.
see it, but
You love to see
I
it.
don't really
Fantasy.
know. I don't really know if this really means anything for the Bengals. You know, like we expected them to beat the Panthers, dominant fashion for sure. It was 42-7. Carolina scored 14 points with their backups in there, like it was a high school game. But um,
Yeah,
does this really leap off the page to you for the Bengals? I mean, no Jamar Chase to be that explosive is nice, but
I would say that. Yeah, it's for them to do this without Jamar Chase, even against a team like the Panthers. I think that's something for sure. Panthers shot themselves in the foot a little bit early, but overall for the Bengals, they needed a win like this, and to see Joe Mixon just really get it going is nice to see. But I guess on the flip side, my only like takeaway and talking point for this game, because the result was expected, but what I did not expect was Baker Mayfield to come in relief and actually do a good job.
that
That
doesn't
was
shock me. It's just
it.
this is the Baker Mayfield cycle, man. This
I
is
was just about to bring it up. Gets that
it,
underdog mentality, goes
yeah.
out as a decent game, talks, says he's needs another shot, and then he plays like crap, and then it's all over
And that's
again.
exactly what he's gonna get too. And you know,
Right, just because it's Carolina, like they don't have anything else. And so
I
it's like, we'll give it to him, but I still don't. I think it's like worth noting. I think people are going to push and say this is why he needs to play. But PJ Walker did something similar last week with the Panthers. I mean, first going to go week to week, just riding the hot hand. You can do that, but they're just not going to win a lot of games. And, for the
I don't think
Panthers'
they
sake, they don't
want to win
want
a lot
to.
of
Yeah.
games.
So, you know what? For them, this might be the best thing that can happen is they just get in that Baker Mayfield cycle and they keep losing games while they're at it. So,
Yeah,
ultimately, nothing too crazy spectacular here. Just Baker having his best day of literally his season so far, and it was off the bench. So he's got that Russell Westbrook badge in him.
oh
He just needs to come
gosh.
off better. He does better
Oh,
off the bench.
oh gosh. All right, here's a question for you. Over under how many weeks after the conclusion of the season until Josh McDaniels gets fired?
Would it?
2, 3?
Would I hate if I told you? I think just because it's the Raiders, they're gonna hold on to him another year.
Dude,
I think if anything, he gets fired mid-season, but it's
dude.
bad.
If I
It's
was a
bad.
Raiders fan, man, it's not even like they're going up like 7. They were up like 17-0 today.
Right. And then
Like
all
they
of a
come
sudden,
out and Devontae Adams has like 80 yards receiving and a touchdown in the first quarter. He has
right.
like a day's worth of stats in the first quarter.
Yeah. They can see, you can see, oh yeah, we can utilize him quite easily. And it was like the rest of the game, his brain just died. I don't know if he lost his play calling
Whoa,
sheet or I don't know what happened, but
I don't, I
he's
don't.
not a head coach. I mean, I called this before. I knew when you're like, yeah, Raiders are the division. I'm like, yeah, if they had literally anybody else with that roster, like this guy is a saboteur. He is. It is the classic Bill Belichick tree. of these guys thinking they're so good. He thinks he's so good because he had Tom Brady for all those years and having the easiest system to come up with because your defense bails you out. This dude has been overrated. He stunk as a head coach before. I'm sorry, like he needs to go. But unfortunately, because it's the Raiders,
No, I refuse to
they're gonna
believe they
hang
do
on
that.
to him for a
I
year.
refuse to believe they're going to do that. How do you excuse a at this point it might be a 9-win difference with the addition of Devontae Adams and others, but mainly Devontae
Right.
Adams. And he's an offensive-minded coach.
Yeah. That's the worst of it all. You
It's
bring
not
in a
like it's not
recruiter
like
like
Mike
that.
Zimmer went to the Raiders and was like their defense is way better, but their offense is not lacking. No. This is the Patriots mastermind of Tom Brady's offense, who did
Yeah.
so good. Dude, get him out of there. Run him out of town. Put him in a casino and make him blow his contract as a punishment. I don't even know what I'm saying, but
No,
it's
I heard it. No one wants to see this guy on the sidelines.
he's maybe
It really
he is the casinos. He's just thieving from Raiders fans at this point. You know.
nah, he's their fan section. He's a black hole. He just sucks that entire team down with him.
Dude, they won
And
11 games with an interim head coach. Their number one receiver got arrested.
yeah,
Their other coach,
Rich BB-Scho. He's the Packers special teams coordinator. Like that's how qualified he was for head coach. And now they go and get Josh McDaniels, and this is the result.
did they win a playoff
sorry,
game too?
I think they did.
I think
I'd
they
have
beat
to
the
double-
Ravens. I'm pretty sure they did.
Like, probably did. And it's like, so this is it's just one of those things that it doesn't make sense to me. Other than like, if we're just gonna blame the coach, then
This year
yeah,
more
it
than
makes
any,
sense.
this year more than any is showing the value of head coaches, which is
100% agree.
great to see. Great to see because
Yeah.
I guys like Arthur Smith they deserve credit, and guys like Josh McDaniels and Cliff Kingsbury and Matt Rule deserve no credit for whatever they've accomplished in their lives because they're Nathaniel Hackett. The list
Yeah.
goes on.
The frauds of the world.
The credit card scams of the world. From the Jaguars' perspective, I guess
Needed
it's a
that win.
Yeah, you needed that win.
that.
Come from behind victory. You like to see that, and you know what else you like to see? Travis Etienne, 28 touches, 28 rushes, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's really good, man. And I don't know why they didn't play him earlier. I really don't. You know, I was in the Travis Etienne hype squad for fantasy preseason. It just took 6 weeks, 8 weeks to get to being proven right. But yeah, I don't know if this changes their season at all. But
No,
Great.
but if they can keep getting some moral victories, have Trevor Lawrence in situations to win games. And
they took care of the
he was
football
solid
today. So.
Yeah, that's really all you can ask. Just get together a recipe of how you can win games going forward, which I think they're starting to figure out. No one had expectations. That's like ultimately the difference. Like, if for the Jags, like, yeah, they're sitting poor record-wise, but they're not trying to win it all this year. They're not strapped for salary cap. Like, they can do some things next year. We're crapping on teams like the Raiders, the Broncos, the Buccaneers, the Packers, teams that like are built to go all in this year are gonna have problems due to veterans getting older and salary cap issues and whatnot. And they're at the same spot. That's problematic. So for the Jaguars aspects, another win, another positive step forward for them. And for the Raiders, you got to be really starting to well, definitely the coaching hire, but they just paid Devontae a lot of money. And as good as he looked today, if they can't get everything out that they really want out of this offense, it's a wasted contract. And picks. It's another thing, too. They can't improve this roster a whole lot next year due to that.
I don't think they need to. I don't think they need to improve the roster. The roster is not the problem, man.
Yeah, I don't know what else you add to that offense other than like Jerry Rice. Like and even then they'd probably go 9-8. Like we got to be honest here. Like it's a coaching issue, and That's
I
unfortunate for
just don't
Raiders
see how
fans.
you. I just don't see how you actually move forward with Josh McDaniels because
I don't
uh,
think you can. It's just for some
how do you
reason the
look at
NFL.
that and say, "Nah, he wasn't the problem. We just got unlucky."
Yeah,
Like, let's run it back. That's something the
it
Raiders
really
would do. It's something the
right.
Raiders
That's
would
what I
do.
mean. It's such a Raider thing. And it just I guess really just depends on like McDaniel's relationship with the guys up in the front office and whatnot. Which bad as it is, but we see Kingsbury get shot up shot every year with a roster that should
No,
be
his
doing a lot
clock
more.
is
So,
expired as well. We'll get to that in a second. But first,
oh yeah, for sure.
we got to talk about another, probably the second biggest surprise of the day: Chicago and Miami.
Yeah,
Chicago's they're kind of rolling, man. Justin Fields, best, second highest rushing yards from a quarterback ever, regular season and playoffs. Best regular season one ever. So set the record for most regular season rushing yards in a game for a quarterback.
which is nuts. And
178.
yeah, looking at Michael Vick numbers, and this
Only
is
outdone by
honestly,
Kaepernick in the playoffs against the Packers. So
which yeah, I'll try and just block that out of my mind. But ultimately, this is why I've never thought the Bears should have drafted a quarterback. I one didn't think it would fix the issue, but it's Fields is not the problem. Like we're seeing it now. They're finally utilizing him the right way. Use the guy's legs. But that's the thing. He's faster than Jalen Hurts, and you see how well he can run the ball. Fields ran a 4.3, and he's a big kid. He's got a strong arm. Like they can use this guy like Josh Allen, and so being able to kind of utilize them, I understand their weapons aren't as great. Getting Claypool helps, but you saw him put up 32 today, and they've been on a hot streak offensively the past couple of weeks. The fact, oh man,
well,
maybe
I
out of
will
just
say this.
pain, I gotta say, like
I
just
will
gotta
say
get it
this.
out. They have a
Um,
better offense than the Packers, and that is just the utmost pain right
I will
now.
say this though. This is why you don't trade away a guy like Roquan Smith
Mm, that's a fair point. It is a fair point because
because they win
honestly,
this game with him.
yeah. But on the flip side, I don't think he was coming back. I
No, I
just
agree. Like
they had
everything
to
we said
cut
about
bait.
long term vision, I still agree.
It
But
had to be done. But I would agree with you with Roquan there today. I don't think they lose by 3. In fact, they probably end up sneaking this one out. And we'll see because
Dolphins,
eh,
I don't know what to say at this point. Tua, and he did this
the
without
offense
Tyreek,
is
so it's like
fantastic. Yeah.
I don't know how to describe Tua because you'll see him miss these deep balls, but then you'll look at his stat line and it'll be 21 of 30, 302 yards and 3 touchdowns. They scored 35 points. And like I hate people that say like he gets bailed by Jalen Waddle and Tyreek because he was doing the same thing last year and the year before that. Like I said, I don't know why everybody wanted to move on from when Brian Flores was there. Like when he was being paid to lose games, like he
Yeah.
was good. They were like 1-6 that one year and made the playoffs. So
Oh yeah,
like,
he's a solid guy. Like he really is. He gets the job done. Doesn't turn the ball over, which is really a big deal.
which is
Um,
ironic considering your
Tua turn the
nickname.
ball over. Yeah,
Yeah,
hey, it flows. Not necessarily accurate, but it's fun to say, man. Tua turn the ball over.
this
But
is a
hey,
big win. This
just
is a big win
yeah,
for the Dolphins. I think that it really was like to get to 6-3. Um,
they look good. They're in a good spot in the standings.
to beat probably the hottest team in the league. You could argue at this point. Um,
Offensively, sure.
I think it's a solid
I think the
win. I
Bears
think we all
Bears
expected them to
wins.
win, but yeah, it's crazy what happens when you put two really good wide receivers out there with a decent quarterback.
No,
And
just didn't just max speed. I mean, that's
yeah,
love how they got that offense designed. Um,
we can
yeah,
let's pivot to some Cliff Kingsbury slander here because
love it. Yeah,
I love when the Cardinals are at a point now where I genuinely look at a game and I say, oh, they're playing the Seahawks at home. They'll lose.
yeah,
Like
and
they're
they
we
lost
both picked the Seahawks on what
with confidence.
with confidence on what should have been a 50-50 game, and we only won by 2 scores. They won by 10. So
Yeah,
the Cardinals are bad, man. They're bad. They're badly coached. I don't think Kingsbury makes it to next fall. That's
He's
he's
he
out.
should be seeing the door. I think
He's
just
been on the hot
seeing
seat
how
way
well
longer because at least McDaniel's is like, oh, it's his first year. Maybe we'll give him a second chance. Kingsbury, it's like, dude, what? You didn't even
he
have
was
your hot
brought in.
start this year.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He's just got to be able to do more with that offense. And the fact they can't get anything going with the personnel they got. Like, Seattle should not be beating you by 2 scores in a division game where your backs are, in my opinion, kind of against the wall. That
Seattle at
shouldn't
this
happen,
point is like the favorite to win the division. I don't
which is
see.
crazy.
Well,
Between them and the
San
Niners,
Fran, yeah,
it's
but
if the Niners can just rip off some wins and Seattle starts to regress a bit. But
Ken
I'd
Walker,
have to look at both
26
the
carries,
schedules.
109, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
He's a
he's good.
stud, man.
Oh yeah, he'll keep
He's
that thing rolling.
he's a stud, and Gino is just rolling, spreading the ball around. They got 3 guys with 5 receptions. I mean,
I say I don't think
that's
he's had a bad game all year,
I
which is
I,
insane.
I don't either.
So insane.
That's what's crazy. But yeah, Kingsbury needs to go. That's my takeaway here. it's
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. Like the fact that this was as we predicted shows the Cardinals have a lot of problems because it's
yes,
not a talent issue. That team is way more players in the roster that are ready to compete than the Seahawks. That's just plain and simple.
that's yeah. I can't say it any better myself. Final game of the afternoon slate. We only had 2, so
Yeah, weird day.
Rams Bucks. You want to talk about a 50-50 game? This defines it, as seen in the final 10 seconds.
Man, Brady, how lucky the Rams can't move the ball either.
The Rams,
He
that's my takeaway here. The Rams are really, really bad.
Stafford looks bad, man. I hate to say it. There's the issues going into this, like just concerns going into the season. I was like, what? But okay, yeah, this team's offense is done. All they got is Cooper Cup right now, and we've seen. Yeah, Stafford had Megatron. You saw what the Lions were. I understand this team is a little more competent as an organization, and with McVay at coach.
Yeah, but they have no
But
future. They have
they
nothing.
don't. They have
They
no
have no
future. They have nothing
assets.
to build on. And so, yeah, the fact they're sitting in this position, losing a game that both teams it looked like were trying to lose. It's not looking good.
What
That's
a
all I
what a
gotta
what a
say.
classic Brady steal as well.
Yeah, and honestly, it does nothing for me. Like that team
No,
is the same problems they do every
he threw
week.
the ball
Can't run the ball.
58 times today.
Yeah, and for what? Even like for 300 yards,
And
like throw
Leonard
it 10.
Fournette had 9 carries for 19 yards.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just Leonard Fournette is a way better back than 9 carries.
I don't know.
And
I'm starting to think fantasy really overinflates. I'm not saying they don't have O-line problems, but Leonard Fournette
that's
he's overinflated because of fantasy value.
no, probably to some extent. It's just I don't know. He's fourth overall pick, and we've seen him have success in the past. I would agree that line is problematic, but man, it is just that was a stinker. But it's bad when like this was supposed to be like the game of the week, probably.
Yeah,
When they
well, they were
set the
like lining
schedule.
it up in the offseason. Like,
Yeah,
oh, this is going to be a
like,
good one right here.
fans gonna love this. And no, we were all
No, we
excited to
were
watch
watching
Gino.
Seahawks
Yeah, it was
Cardinals.
Gino was the highlight, and that I
Gino
think
and,
just sums up, the NFL this year. Even the week of just like the teams that won, like Zach Wilson's Jets, Geno Smith's Seahawks,
Tua's
Jared Goff's
Dolphins,
Lions. You got
Lawrence's
to be kidding me!
Jaguars.
Yeah, like it was one of those weeks, and so for pick wise, like I believe we still are gonna come out, even by a little bit above it.
We're both 8-3 right now.
Oh wow, yeah, so we're actually in really good shape.
Well, we
Um,
got all the easy ones. Is what happened. We both got Eagles, Vikings, Bengals, Jaguars, Dolphins, and Seahawks, and that put us in a good spot.
right.
Then
What
I
would we
grabbed.
take for tonight and
We,
tomorrow night?
we both had Chiefs, and then I have the
Chiefs.
Saints, and you have the Ravens.
So we're really gonna make a break on Monday Night Football,
Yes.
which is, hey, yeah, Andy Dalton or Lamar. I like Lamar, but you know what? The way this year's going, probably gonna be Andy Dalton. I mean, we just listed off the QB winners of this week. Um, Man, I mean, it's tough to analyze week to week because you think we'd have some more teams figured out, and we kind of realize who are bad, but some of these good teams with good records, we don't necessarily know how good. I think a lot of power rankings could look differently. So maybe that's something we touch on, our midseason power rankings, for Thursday's
I
episode.
think it's a
But
good idea. I think it's a good
yeah, I
idea.
think it just needs to be addressed.
I
Like
hope you
there's
know that
just
I will be putting the Packers in the 30s. So
wow. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they can be, in the top half for me. I'd have to put it below 16.
30s might be an exaggeration. Now that I'm thinking about the worst team, they're better than the Panthers and the Texans, but that might be it.
Yeah, 30 might be a good slot. We'll see. Good grief.
Yeah. Any closing remarks before we go? We go tune into some Sunday night football. Who's your? I'll ask you one question. Oh, go ahead. Actually,
No, I'd like to hear your question first because
who's your?
I'm ready to go see Kansas City do their thing.
Yeah, biggest winner and biggest loser this week.
I think biggest winner is probably got to be Seattle fans, given how far ahead they are now in the division. And like, even if they don't technically win it, they're probably gonna make playoffs, which is nuts. But like, even then, I think they still could do damage in the playoffs. Like just watching that team play, it makes no sense, but they're good. Like they're good. They know how to win games. Biggest loser, I think it's a tie between the Rams or Packers. You could probably say the Packers just because I think we're actually in worse salary cap situation. But both teams can't really improve a whole lot next offseason. And it looks like both their seasons are mathematically at this point even done. So um, that's all. That's my kind of takeaways. I don't know if you had any different choices.
Yeah, I
The
think the biggest winners, two winners that come to mind right now are Justin Fields. He
for sure.
seems to have won over not just Chicago's fan base, but everybody else at this point. Because it wasn't too long ago we were discussing if they should move on, and that was like 4 or 5 weeks ago. So
no, and it was
and that was valid,
but...
and it was a valid conversation at that time, and that has
yeah.
completely done a 180. And then the other winner is T.J. Hawkinson. Just seems to be in a better situation. I mean, you could trade it from a bad team to a contender. Losers, Josh McDaniels and Cliff Kingsbury.
He just is a loser. So you know what?
I mean, it's pretty unoriginal. But another winner is Robert Saleh. I'll throw that in there to be unoriginal.
Definitely, yeah. A guy I think if they had a bad season would have gotten canned, but he's showing why he got that job. So respect to Robert Saleh for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, as always, make sure to check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Instagram, TikTok. We're always pushing more content out to you guys. And Christian, until next time, till NBA Tuesday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Have a good one.
Yep. Enjoy the games.